thank you for joining me today for day 5 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. And today's sketch, you can see in the top right hand corner there, is by Katie Scott, who's one of the Scrappy Sisters here on YouTube. Go and subscribe if you haven't already. They have wonderful videos up most days actually. So here I'm using Bella Besties, and this is from the School is Cool range, and I've cut a triangle, a 12 by 12 triangle, and I'm going to cut this into shards per the sketch, and these will go on the right hand side of the page. I'm scrapping some photos from a trip to the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum back in 2013 with the kids. We're in the Transport Museum here, and they're climbing all over an old-fashioned bus. So the colours in the photo are red, gold and black, and that's what I'm trying to focus on with my papers and embellishments. So first of all, I'm going to cut the paper into shards, as I say, per the sketch, and then I shall distress each of the edges just to create those lines and the definition between each of the shards, if that makes sense. So almost there now, and making sure that I put the shards into place each time I cut them so I don't lose. I've done that before, so I don't lose the shape of the triangle. So here it is, and now I'm just going to distress those edges, and I'm just doing each of the cut edges. I'm not doing the edge that gets stuck to the edge of the white cardstock. I hope I'm making sense. I seem to be saying the word edge an awful lot there. So using my Tim Holtz edge distresser to just get each of those edges distressed. And then that will be the base for my page. So on this sketch, Katie's put some lovely florals in 3 clusters around her photos. I won't be using florals because it just doesn't make sense. I'm trying to be better at using things that don't make sense to my photos, but I just don't want to use florals on this page. So I've pulled in a selection of bits and pieces from my older stash, and it's been great to get those used up. You'll see as we go through. And the photos that I'm using are a 4x6, and then another one which I've cut down from a 4x6 to approximately a 3x4, which is what I think Katie used in the picture in the sketch. So just going through, as I say, distressing all of these, making a bit of a mess because the paper that when you're distressing does go everywhere, the paper dust, but it's worth it. Just need to make sure that I keep hoovering or vacuuming each time I've done this. So while I'm finishing distressing these edges, please do ensure that you check the description box down below when you finish watching to see the playlist that Christie's set up for us all. And every day people are adding their videos to that playlist, so you can just hit play and watch to your heart's content. They'll just keep playing, and it'll go back to the same place when you go back to watch again. So it's a great resource to have. So now I'm just going around and sticking these shards down, and what I'm going to do is stick the first one and then the second one in the opposite corner, so that I can see how much gap I've created by distressing those edges, because they won't go exactly next to one another. There will be a little bit of a gap, so you can see here I'm just working out how much of a gap I've got before sticking those other 2 down, and then I should do the same on the other edge. And I love these Bella Besties papers because they're just primary colours, and they work really nicely with a photo like this where I don't have a specific collection in mind that I want to use. There aren't that many with this deep red in at the moment. I've got Art Options Alina from 49er Market, which has some nice reds, and I've got a photo in mind to scrap using that possibly later on this month if there's a sketch that will suit the photos. So we'll see. I might be using that soon. So here are my photos, and now I'm just going to start matting and layering. So I'm pulling out that School is Cool Bella Besties again to get the yellow and black. So the yellow just has tiny little tone-on-tone hearts on it, and the black is like a buffalo check on one side, and it's this gorgeous white with black dots on the other, which I absolutely adore. So just matting the photo straight onto the black and white first, and then adding another matte underneath that in the yellow, and I shall distress the edges on each of these as well. As my friend Karen mentioned in a previous video, I've found my big scissors finally, so I'm making great use of those. They're so handy to have if you can't be bothered pulling your trimmer out. So there are the mats with the black and white, and then here I am coming in with the yellow now. And I consider using the other side, but I much prefer this tone on tone. So that's the one I shall stick with for both of the photos as well. So just distressing those edges before I stick it down. And I only want a small border showing, so just trimming a little bit of excess off there where I cut the mat a little bit too big. And if you haven't got one of these edge distressors, Tim Holtz or whoever else, they're absolutely fantastic, worth their weight in gold, and it seems to keep going and going. I've not had to replace it yet, and you've seen I use it plenty of times in my videos. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know I do love a distressed edge. So just trimming down for that second mat now, and then I can get these photos stuck down and then start embellishing. Almost there. I'm not quite sure why I've left all this in. Normally I do delete some of the distressing, so I'm sorry about that. It's a bit monotonous, isn't it, watching the same thing going over and over. So there's the first one down, and then the second one, and then I'll glue these two together before adding foam pads to them, just to make it easier. So just checking that I'm happy with the placement. I want one slightly offset against the other. And then here we go, adding a bit of glue, and then I can use the foam pads across the two, and they'll sort of hold them together as well. And I'm just using foam pads to raise this above the distressed paper that we've got underneath. It just makes it adhere down more easily without buckling. So there they are, and I'm really happy with that. So now I'm going to start playing with the bits and pieces that I've found. These round label shapes are from the Ellie Studio label set, the stamp set, and I've stamped them with lumberjack plaid and fossilised amber, and those colours work really nicely with this. The Flair badge says adventure, and that's from Hey Little Magpie Flair badges. And these are some chic tags from years ago, and this one just says love everything about you, and I think that works really nicely there. And then this is an Ellie Studio cut apart label sheet. They bring them out every month, and this is a very old one, and I just saw this grey one that said noted that I thought would work nicely, and I can just add my journaling to that because there's not a great deal to say. I've documented plenty of photos from this day out, so I don't really need to put too much on there. And that yellow piece is from the same label sheet that says photo date, so I shall just stamp the date later on. Now I'm coming in with these puffy stickers from Ellie Studio, and there's a little camera there, and there are also these photo corners which I love to use as chevrons. And you can see I've got a little wood piece there, and that's from JD3DPrint. It's the heart geotags. So just continuing to add bits and pieces. That's another Flair badge that says snapshots. That's from the family set that we released recently. And now I'm going to start adding some foam to add dimension to these bits and pieces. So I'm adding these sticks to foam pads, the 6mm by 12mm on a roll, because they're easy to use. Don't have to cut them up. They're pre-cut for me. So just adding that there, and that fits perfectly in that little gap between the two photos. And then the noted piece I'm just keeping flat against the page. So now gluing that Flair badge down and adding some glue to that's another Ellie Studio label stamp, and I've used the new Lost Shadow, from Tim Holtz in the Distress Oxide, the ink there. So just adding my journaling, which just reads, climbing about on the old bus in the Transport Museum, and that's literally all I need to say. So now I'm just checking that everything's straight, because the photos are offset and because it's a diagonal that the pattern paper's in the background. I just wanted to double check that this yellow label was actually straight on the page, and then I can start to add everything else around it. So still trying to work out this cluster a little bit, whether to keep the heart inside that geotag or keep it separate. And I do keep it separate in the end because I decide that I'm going to colour those in. and you'll see that shortly. So first of all, adding my date to that photo op label, and that fits in nicely down there. And then these tomorrow, I think these are Jelly Bean Soup, or they may be Lily Bee stickers, and I'm just using a couple of those around, just partly to get them used up and partly to add something a little bit different. These are Jen Hadfield puffy stickers, and I just choose one that says hello and another one that says super. And then some Ellie Studio puffy hearts. So adding one to that tab and one to the flag banner that I've put on that larger photo. So these are Sweet Rush from Vicky Bootin, the sticker book, and I just find one that says memories, so that fits nicely on that yellow tag. And then this one says things to see, things to do, things to experience. And I think this is one of the last things that I looked through. This is a very old Simple Stories Magical Memories sticker book, so it's a Disney based sticker book, but the colours are perfect. So I pull one sticker out that says photo op and add that there. And then there's one here that says smile, which works nicely with that Flair badge. And then I do find another one that says fun. It's on this sticker sheet here, and that just nestles nicely into that little collection there. Oh, there is something else that I add. Oh, it's a little banner that says imagine. And now these are very, very old puffy thickers from American Crafts, and I'm just spilling out all aboard with them. And I'm a bit annoyed because I think they've been sitting in the sun at some point, and some of the white has turned a little bit yellow, but it's only the exclamation mark really on this title that's affected, so I need to have a look through and see which ones are affected and whether I can get more titles out of this, because I really don't like the yellowing. I might try colouring them with my distress inks or sprays or something to see if I can change the colour. So just checking that I'm happy with the positioning of those. And now I'm coming in, as I say, with my paints. So the heart I'm going to paint in red. And then I thought I was going to paint the geotag in black, but in fact I'll show you here how easy they are to colour with pens. So I just use a black marker pen and colour that in. So I glue it down first. I just find it easier because it holds it in place while I'm trying to colour it. And here I am with a black marker pen. So a Sharpie pen, anything like that would work really well. The wood just absorbs the pigment and it looks really nice. So still playing with more of these labels. Just want to build up that cluster at the top a little bit more. So I do add another camera up there. Just mounting it onto foam because it's on top of the photo. It needed some foam where it wasn't on the photo, where it's hanging off. So I like the look of that, but there's definitely more that needs to be added. So gluing this photo date piece down first of all, and then I shall keep adding. So first of all, a little dotty heart from the Ellie Studio Puffy Hearts. Another little word phrase that just says perfect from the Sweet Rush sticker book. And while I was pulling that off, I pulled off a little yellow ampersand, so I've just popped that down in the bottom cluster. I thought it looked quite nice there. Another pre-stamped Ellie Studio label. And finally, some gold splattering. And that's it for this sketch. I absolutely love that, Katie. Thank you so much for providing the inspiration. It's, again, something very different for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's great to have some different designs in my album. So that's it from me. Watch for the close-ups at the end, and I shall see you tomorrow for day 6. Thanks again. Bye.